Earlier on Live with Lori, Mark LaRusso stopped by to talk about his position as Melbourne City Council member and help Lori make herb roasted chicken. See them get their hands dirty as they prepare the butternut squash stuffing.
Welcome back to Live with Lori. We are making an herb roasted chicken, and we're here with City Councilman Mark LaRusso, and we're getting ready to make the stuffing. But before we do that, Mark, let's turn the oven on. We're going to preheat it at 350, okay? All right, so that should be ready by the time that we're ready to put the chicken in. And what I'm going to ask you to do is go ahead and cut this bread. We're going to cut it in about 1-inch cubes, and we want a whole loaf of bread. You want a good sturdy bread, and you want to make sure, you know, if it's a day old, that's okay too. So while you're cutting this, I'm going to continue with the questions. This is political food for thought after all.
More questions. Thank you so much.
What is your favorite thing about being on the City Council?
Favorite thing about being on the City Council? I'd have to say, Laura, that would probably be the amount of good that we are able to provide for the citizens. The challenges that a city faces are multifaceted, as you well know.
Right.
And finding solutions to those challenges is probably some of the most rewarding work that I've probably ever done in my entire life. So I'd have to say that would be probably the best thing about being on City Council. Plus the fact I'm on TV all the time, too.
Well, that's interesting.
Well, you know. But, you know, interacting with my fellow council members, sharing the ideas, coming to solutions. Really, we're all different people up there. Some Democrats, some Republicans, some independents.
Right.
Different types of lawyer, a fleet manager for FP&L, myself a small business owner. Another council member works for FIT. So all these different experiences that we bring to the table is a very unique thing, and I really enjoy interacting in that way.
Oh, well, that's interesting. Do you think that the different personalities make for a better city council?
I do. I think and that's why Melbourne set itself up in districts.
Right. And
districts, there are 6 districts in the city of Melbourne. And that is so that not one area is represented by 4 or 5 people. Let's say all of the downtown area would elect 4 different people.
Right.
So there's North Melbourne, there's West Melbourne, South Melbourne, the beaches, and the downtown O'Galley area, as well as downtown as well too. So yeah, I think that's great. Okay.
Well, while you're cutting that, I'm just going to tell you what we're adding. We're adding about 2 cups of chicken broth to our bread. We've got 1 onion that's cut up. We've got 5 tablespoons of melted butter and about 1.5 pounds of butternut squash. We've also got some more of the fresh herbs that we put underneath the skin of the chicken. We're going to beat this egg and put it in with the stuffing. And once we've got it all together, then we're going to mix the goopy mess all together with our hands. But before we start that, I have one other question. What is the thing that has surprised you the most about being on the City Council?
There are a number of things that surprised me about being on City Council. I have to say that probably the one thing that surprised me the most was my wife's response once I was elected. And I was never meant to be elected, but it was a great time. But her response to when we started to do functions together, that we would get invitations from the Chamber of Commerce or the League of Cities or some such thing. But my wife would say, okay, I didn't want you to do this, but you're doing it and I support you. But the thing that you get from me is you get to ask me for 1 event per quarter, so I go with you 4 times a year. So that was the surprising part.
Oh, that's fair.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I think one of the other surprising parts, though, realistically, is, and I talk about this with a number of different folks. Or you want me to still throw bread in there?
Yep, keep going. We're going to put your hands in this in a minute.
Oh boy, can't wait. Is the response that I get from different people and stop to get gas or at the grocery store. Literally, I could tell my wife, or we could go to the grocery store together, and we only expect to be there for about 20 minutes or so. It turns into a 2 or 3 hour trip, and it's because people recognize you. And people have questions, and sometimes they chase you down the aisle because they don't agree with what you voted on. So, very surprising.
Well, that could happen. I can understand how that could happen. Okay, what we're going to do now is, I think that we've got enough bread.
Okay.
We're going to stick your hands in this and just reach down there and gloop it up. This is the best way to mix stuffing. It's, you know, I know people who don't like putting their hands in stuff, but your hands really are your best tools.
You got the apron though.
And, you know, well, next time you get an apron, Mark.
No, that's okay.
I'll get you a pink one.
Oh, thank you.
And don't forget the salt and pepper. You won't need much salt if you use regular chicken broth. You know, because it has the salt in it. If you want to use reduced sodium, that's okay too. But make sure you put a good amount of pepper in it, because if you don't, it's going to taste a little flat.
It smells good already.
So, you know, when you're recognized in public, Mark, how does your wife, being as that, you know, she was a little hesitant maybe?
Yeah.
For you being in the council, how does she react to that?
She reacts very well to it, actually.
Mark, you have done a great job mixing that stuffing. And now we're going to put it in the pan. So if you could just dump that right there, help me out a little bit. Okay, we want to make sure you get everything out of the bowl, because that's where all the good stuff is, right at the bottom. Okay, and you see how I'm mounding that just a little bit?
Yes.
Let me put that out of your way.
That makes all the difference, I'm sure.
Well, what happens is once you put this rack in, you're going to put the rack in, and you just kind of smoosh it down there like that. You put the chicken on top, and all the good chicken juices go right into the stuffing.
That's great.
Okay, well, our oven's ready, so if you'll open the door, we'll put it in, and we'll be back, and we'll be tasting this chicken. Thanks so much. See you in a little while.
Coming up, the herb roasted chicken and stuffing is ready, but is Melbourne City Council member Mark LaRusso ready for Lori's feature question? Find out when Live with Lori returns.